All right, everybody, it's been a really long time since I posted anything on a 70 Camaro, so you're not going to want to miss this. Lots of updates. This is Costino Garage. All right, guys, there's been a lot of things going on in the background. Didn't film a whole lot of it because it's kind of boring, lots of wiring, just lots of tedious stuff. So let's show you what we got going on. The last time you seen this, wiring was pretty loosely just placed here. Now everything is basically ran. This is all loomed up pretty nice. It's just set in there. It's not really finalized yet. Of course, I've ran out of loom, and there's that. Running all the stuff that go into the rear into this little sill area where that metal plate will block all this, make it all hidden. And then I got it going through the back. It blends in pretty well. Can't even really tell a whole lot. And then for the driver's side, I did set up all the gauges. This will have to come out again because I have the headlight switch that has to come out, which is right here. This is all set up, ready to go. I upgraded the steering column wiring to Deutsch connectors instead of that long, flat, crappy connector. Yeah, no good. So upgraded to that. These are the ends to that. Everything is ran long so I can make it up tight and nice and clean so you don't see any wiring, because that's kind of my thing. So as you could tell, it's looking way cleaner. And as for the back, I did wire fuel gauge, sending unit stuff. I got the battery in. I made a little custom power wire that goes down into the cutoff switch. And there's the rest of that. You can see the loom there. It goes through the side, and you can see it in through there. So I kind of made it clean as possible so you don't really see a whole lot. The leftover wiring here is just for like the tail lights and turn signals and stuff, which is probably going to be close to last. I still have to cut them, make connectors, and also get new buckets. These tail light buckets are pretty thrashed, so that'll have to be changed, and then I could create the connectors and stuff for that. So this is all pretty much buttoned up back here. There's only one thing left to wire back here, which is the pump. Gonna wire the pump up, and then that is pretty much it. The front, obviously, we're waiting because I got all the front headlights, turn signals, stuff like that. And also this is for the starter solenoid and electric fan and stuff like that, which is going to be a little bit later once the motor and all the components are in. And then I got the brake switch and stuff that literally goes right here, so cut all that to length, get that going. So basically what I wanted to do is get everything ran, and what could be hooked up, and what can't be hooked up, run the length of what's needed. Basically estimate where it should go, and give yourself room. And then what I'm going to do is all the outer wiring, like that's in the front end, stuff it all back in the car, and then we're going to start body work on this thing. We're going to do body work and paint. I have an idea of a color. Suggestions on crazy colors would be good. I want a very loud, obnoxious color, because this thing is going to be loud and obnoxious. Got the switch panel installed. Had to do a nice little custom bracket for the bar. This thing came out really nice. And of course, since it's up here, from the outside of the car, you're gonna see the other end. So I had to make it clean looking, so I made like a little custom harness, with the wrap, and tied it all the way down, and then it goes down underneath. So I'm fairly happy with it. I think it looks clean, because without that big wrap there, you see all the wiring and the connectors and stuff, and no matter how neat you zip tie it, it just still looks like crap. So cover it is the best way. There isn't no really metal box for this type of setup, so you got to work with what you get. And this is the only switch panel that I kind of was digging. All the other ones were kind of funky, and I wasn't about to spend, you know, $1,000 on those fancy light up button customizable ones. That's just, yeah, I'll put that money in the motor, not a switch panel. Okay, more updates. We have the rear power set up. Ground and power ran nice. Have it grounded on the side of the frame here. Power run into the switch. I did wire up, you can see a little bit of it in there. Wired up fuel pump. So now we could actually turn the power on now and test some of the things. Okay, no smoke, no fire. It's a good sign. Let's see, turn the key on. Okay, volts working. Gas gauge is working because it's empty. Let's see the switches. Ignition. Yep, ignition light is flashing. This one should be fuel pump. Yep, fuel pump's running. And then this one's electric fan, and then this is one electric fan, and then this one is not anything hooked up yet. So far, everything is wired up. Everything seems to be working. I may have known how to wire a little bit, or I got lucky. We'll see. Brake switch connected, wired, loomed. Yeah. Okay, I got the gauge cluster pulled out again. So I'm going to run the turn signal indicator lights and also the high beam indicator light. So we'll run the turn signals here, high beam here. I got these little LED indicator lights that I'll show you in a second. And also I might as well install the headlight switch here as well. This is the wiper motor switch. I'm obviously not running a wiper motor or wipers for that matter. So I don't know if I'm just gonna leave this opening here or put something over it, or I don't know. Not top in the priority list as of yet. So these, oh, let me see here. These are those little LED leads. That's gonna go in here. They are awfully small. So I have to drill some tiny holes. And of course I'm OCD, so I'm gonna have to make sure that they're in the center and also the same height as all three of these. So yeah, I'm gonna have to do some measuring and taping and science stuff. Let's see how badly I screw this up. Okay, drilled the holes. There's the little LEDs. Not too bad. I didn't screw it up too much, and it looks like they're pretty straight and centered. Went with the amber with the high beam because the only other color was red. And I don't think I want red flashing at me. That usually is not a good color. So turn signals are green, high beam is orange or amber. So now we have to wire this up and get this thing back in the car. Okay, outside, inside. I ran all the grounds together and just added it to that ground on that gauge. And then the rest of the inputs, hard to tell, but I pinned it into this. I had a few spots left. As you see, there's only one empty pin left in this. So the left, right, and high beam are pinned into this connector. So now let's wire up the other side, pin it to that connector, and then we should plug all this in, and this is done. You know, stupid me, when I wired up these switches, now that I have power going to the car, I could kind of test everything. But I ran the main power for these switches to one of the fused circuits there. I think I used like CB radio because obviously this thing ain't gonna have a CB radio. However, when using these fused circuits, when you go to crank the car, all the power goes to the starter and pulls power from everything else. So there will be no power while cranking, which means if I have the ignition on, you know, or the fuel pump, while you're cranking, everything's gonna turn off. So I had to change the wiring on that. Luckily, I found one of the wires that come with this kit was the ignition to coil wire. and that is obviously an always hot wire, even while cranking. So I just had to rewire that. Now we're good to go. So now everything is pretty much buttoned up. Just got some miscellaneous stuff. This is like the dome light wire, which I'm not sure if I'm even gonna run a dome light, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And also I just got to wrap up the tail light wiring, which I'm not really ready for it. So I'm gonna split the wires to both directions on where they're supposed to be, make them long, and then just loom them back there until I'm ready for tail lights. And up front here, I am going to clean all this up. I made it long so I could route the wires up high, out of the way, zip tie them. I'm waiting for more of this wire loom material to make it all pretty. And then for the wires going to the front of the car, I have this little hole here coming through. Obviously this is gonna be loomed and pretty as well. It's just loosely rammed. But I'm gonna do one of those bulkhead Deutsch connectors here. So it'll all be pinned and it will just look nice here. So then the other end will just be a connector. Go right in, make it look real nice. So yeah, we are kicking butt on this wiring job. It's getting close. I'm thinking a few more hours, this will be wrapped up, and then pretty much that will be it, because I can't do any further unless there's a motor and transmission in this thing. But before we do any of that, I'm gonna actually want to start the bodywork and paint on this thing. So we'll get right back once all of this is wrapped up and the back wiring is pretty much wrapped up. Keep watching. Okay, mounted the driver's seat. Got the majority of the carpet in. It's sort of just roughed in. It's all kind of loose. I'm gonna tack everything down so everything sits nice and tight later. Also back here, I buttoned up, I seam sealed some more of the tin pieces, sealed the this rear piece to the tubs, and the same thing back here. Also upgraded the battery. I went with a smaller Optima battery, fits better with the same amount of power and everything from those larger ones, so everything will be hunky-dory in there. Cleaned up a bunch of things in here, switched over to riv nuts versus nut and bolts, so make things easier for mounting and taking off and on. So that is it. And more progress with the wiring. I've got the pass-through Deutsch connector set up here for the firewall. It gives it a super clean look. Obviously these wires aren't going to go through here, it's just, you know, for there for now. And then from the inside, it gave it a much cleaner look as well. And you can see it goes through the firewall, and then all that'll be loomed, but that gives it a much cleaner look. And then of course carpet and everything still has to go through here, and all that needs to be loomed. But Deutsch connectors for the win, man. Makes it super clean. Wiring step, big step, is done. So now probably gonna finish up a little bit more of the interior stuff. I'll get the passenger seat bracket set up, get the rest of the carpet kit in, get all that sort of half-ass buttoned up, and then bodywork time. It's gonna be a fun stage. So that will definitely be on the next video. We're getting closer to this thing to start making some noise and moving under its own power. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. It's Costantino Garage.